Hello and welcome to Grammar TV. I'm going to attempt to talk about grammar for a couple of minutes. I was pretty bad at school, I think, with grammar, with most things really. I was really good at art, and I did like my English teacher at school though, Mr. Corcoran, and I kind of pride myself on writing really good poetry now. I write the odd good essay every now and then. So I'm going to read. So I just did a little recording, so I thought I'd just do one again. So I wanted to look at the history. I'm going to talk about grammar. I know, it's boring as batshit, I know. But, actually, stats go that half of all Australians can't read and write. Yep. Yeah, it's pretty bad. English actually stems, God. English stems originally, it's a combination of Germanic, bit of Dutch, Afrikaans, German, bit of French. It's a real mismatch. But it was considered Old English and Anglo-Saxon. So that's around 550, 1066. So 1066, William the Conqueror invaded England. So that's when it kind of really picked up some speed. And so there are some dialects. It was location based. King Alfred kind of pushed, the West Saxon style. It became the standard back then. But it became really established by the time William the Conqueror invaded England. So we're sort of talking 1200, 1450. Old English evolved into Middle English, and then it evolved into Modern English around about the years 1500. 1700, characterized by the Great Vowel Shift. What does that mean? Well, the basic vowels have their sounds, right? And King Henry, around 1430, who was based at the Court of Chancery in Westminster, began using English as its official documents. A new standard called Chancery Standard is developed in London and the East Midlands. So 1476, William Caxton introduced the printing press and thus began the printing of books. Shakespeare, King James Bible was written. And so even back then, the clusters of consonants you'd be pronounced the word gnat and knight and sword. So they would use all of the consonants. So that's early modern English. There were some loan words from the French as well. So by the late 18th century, the British Empire had spread its colonies. Remember, everything on the map that's pink is ours and everything on the map is yellow is theirs, or something like that. The geopolitical dominance meant that English became the first global language. Different pronunciations with dialects depending on where they're located. 1755, Samuel Johnson published a dictionary of the English language, and in 1828, Noah Webster published the American Dictionary of the English language, spreading the language via media and education. As of 2016, 400 million people speak English and 1.1 billion speak English as their second language. So English, along with French, became on par with the English language of diplomacy and international relations. It is one of the 6 languages of the United Nations. 80% of all scientific journals are written in English, 90% of all natural science articles are written in English, and 82% of all humanities articles are written in. And that's a stat from 1995, something like that. So I'm going to go through some classic words. So we've been working on words and understanding words, just as simple as that, right? Punctuation. So punctuation is a set of specific marks or symbols belonging other than the alphabet, okay? So they are a writing system to indicate aspects, meaning, or intonation not otherwise conveyed in the written language. It shows us where to pause. It separates ideas. It informs us if someone else is speaking. It shows us how the sentence should be read and makes the meaning clear. There are 14 marks of punctuation in the English language. They are a period, a full stop, a comma, a question mark, an exclamation point, a semicolon, a full colon, also known as a colon, a dash, there's also long dashes, but that's something else, a hyphen, a parentheses, brackets, braces, not on the teeth, apostrophe, quotation marks, and ellipsis. Linguistics. Linguistics is the symbols used for this purpose. Literacy. Literacy is the ability to read and write. Aka illiteracy is the inability to read and write. Phonology or phonetics, that is the sound that the dialect makes. It's like an accent, you know, the vowels. We say A, E, I, O, U. New Zealand, E, E, U, E. Sorry, I'm joking. Fish and chips. A diphthong. I wonder how many people in English know what a diphthong is. It's a gliding vowel. So it literally means double sound or tone. It's where the tongue moves to a different part of the mouth. It is the combination of two adjacent vowel sounds. For example, no highway, cowboy. Sorry. It has 5 distinct diphthongs, does that saying? O, I, A, ow, oi. One in every syllable. Yep. See? Learn something every day. Centering and closing diphthongs. Things like word, peer, pair, paw, bay, road, cry, cow, boy. Say that really fast 3 times. There's also monophthongs. So that's in complete contrast to the diphthong, where the tongue does not actually move and has a single sound. For example, re-elect. This is actually called a hiatus. And actually the word hiatus is both a diphthong and a hiatus. Yep. I know. Who wanted to teach English as a second language? Intonation. Intonation are the syllables or the sounds that are stressed or unstressed. It depends what emphasis you put on the right syllable or what shul you went to. Consonants are everything other than a vowel. So grammar, well, how's this for a phrase? English follows accusative morphosyntactic alignment. 7 major word classes, right? Verbs, nouns, adjectives, adverbs, determiners, including articles, prepositions, and conjunctions. Verbs and verb phrases include inflections and tense and aspect and mood and all that sort of stuff. I'm going to say 2 phrases, okay? Keep it in mind. Adverb, verb, and prepositional phrases. Right, they're 2 really different things, okay? Okay, another word for you. Vocabulary. It's basically just words, isn't it? Vocab. We have around about 1 million words. Most of those are like scientific names for plants and stuff like that. So, and maybe words we don't use anymore. So really there's only probably 170,000 words that we draw on, and tops, most of us would probably use only 20 or 30,000 of those words. So pretty limited. The statistics around about reading and writing are shocking, okay? 1 in 4 children cannot read. That is worldwide. That is right now. There are direct connections between historical events and reading and writing levels. You know, if you go back to like 1820, probably 10 or 12% of the population could actually read and write. They're the guys that are writing all the laws, you know, all the documents. And then they developed legalese, didn't they? Secret language only lawyers know. Black's Law Dictionary and all that. Although, since, I don't know, 1900, that percentage has increased by 4% every 5 years. So by the time, 1960, 42% could read and write. 2015 stat was 85%. So we're getting better, generally countries with economic challenges are more likely to be illiterate. So check this out. 70% of all American inmates cannot read or write above a grade 4 reading level. The average American reads at a 7th or 8th grade reading level, and only half can read a book to an 8th grade reading level. 4% are completely unable to read and write enough to perform even daily functions, and that would include like reading bottles with numbers or, I don't know, a big pharma, and only 2% in America can actually read at a level of 5. Now, what is considered a level 5 reading level is the ability to integrate information across multiple texts, construct syntheses, multiple of synthesis, ideas or viewpoints, or evaluate evidence-based arguments, i.e., can they identify from research, a book that suggesting that the claims made both for and against genetically modified foods are unreliable. Basic research kind of task that you do at probably uni, I'd say. Now, in 2018, it stated almost half of the entire population of Australia cannot read and write properly. A survey from the Bureau of Statistics found that 7 million Australians are below the acceptable benchmark for understanding their own language. 70% don't understand how numbers work. That was pertaining to bottles and taking medication. And this has a huge impact on the workforce and its inability to upskill. This is the consequence of more than a decade of neglect from our governments. I wasn't living here then. The Howard and Costello government. So it has not improved since 1996. So they've been doing this to you. Yep, the government that cares so much about you. Them ones there. That source is the ABC. So that brings us around to quantum grammar. So quantum grammar is the future. Quantum grammar essentially offers a mathematical way to write contracts in proper and correct English so that it can not be misunderstood in any way, shape or form. It upholds integrity in contracting and holds all parties accountable. Unlike our current adverb-verb grammar, which is totally open to interpretation by judges. Yep, they got that one sorted out, didn't they? So quantum grammar was officially filed at the United Nations in 1999. 250 countries agreed. And so when you read quantum grammar, it's kind of a bit like a pyramid. Like you say it frontwards and backwards and it still means the same thing. It takes 13 words to make a sentence of fact. So the next time someone says to you, how do you convey a fact? You say, well, it takes a minimum of 13 words to convey that. And it is written for the, by the, with the, is and are the only verbs. Is being singular, are being plural, and then back out the other way. With the, by the, for the. So you literally can say it in both directions and it means the same thing. It's also called correct sentence structure, communication, parse, syntax, grammar. Yep, it's a mouthful. We say CSSCPSG for short. I've got another word for you, syntax. So syntax is the mathematical interface of all languages. It was cracked in 1998. No, 1988, I beg your pardon. So it would actually appear that they have taught us the wrong grammar. Yep. They taught us adverb-verb when we should be taught prepositional phrases. Now, the English, when they invaded, and I'll say invaded, Hawaii, they wanted to take over the South Pacific. Remember the UPU took over, 1871, 74, something like that? The local people in Hawaii were actually speaking prepositional phrases. And what the English did is they cut off 38,000 heads to bully them into speaking adverb-verb. Yep, they did. And Rothschild, because he had courier pigeons, he got the edge on the stock market back in 1920. And so he insisted that everyone that dealt with him deal with adverb verb, and he insisted that everyone learn adverb verb. So blame Rothschild. Anyway, so that's Grammar TV. So let's learn how to read and write properly, shall we? That's a good thing. I mean, in this current fiasco, if you were to find out that you were taught the wrong grammar and someone said, this is the right grammar, this way, would you not be running headfirst towards the correct grammar? Just a thought. Anyway, go look up quantum grammar. It's a bit tough to read at first. It's like someone shouting at you. They got caps and lowercase and all of that. But after a while, funnily enough, it starts to get easier and easier and easier to read. And although we may not ever end up speaking to each other in quantum grammar, I prefer the poetry, really. It is probably the best way to write to each other, I think. Language cannot be quantified in a court of law. So if they say they're recording you, it can't be held in court. Ignore it. It's written. And so this is the future. All our laws have to be written in quantum grammar. All terms and conditions, every contract that you can think of needs to be written in quantum grammar. So best you start learning quantum grammar.